The fragile peace, the great hall of the Galaxy Council was filled with light, but also with shadows. Thousands of alien delegates sat in long rows, their eyes glowing, their voices low. It was a day the galaxy had waited for. The day peace would finally be decided. The banners of the council hung high, symbols of unity and order. But behind them there was fear. Many races had suffered in the border wars, and most of them believed one thing. Humanity was weak, tired, and desperate for peace. For weeks, the council had spread this belief. They told each other that the humans had no real choice. Their fleets were missing from known maps, their colonies silent to many in the chamber. This was proof that humanity was finally broken. But as the hall filled with sound, the heavy doors opened. A single figure walked in, a human ambassador dressed in plain black. His face calm, his steps slow, his eyes unreadable. The voices of the aliens rose and fell. Some mocked, some laughed, but the human did not answer. He only walked forward and sat quietly. One of the council leaders, tall and scaled, leaned forward. "You are late, human. Do you fear the truth of this council?" The human lifted his head, his voice low but steady. "We do not fear truth. We came to hear it." The chamber filled with whispers. Some aliens laughed, saying humans were always arrogant. Others shook their heads, thinking humans were broken by war. Yet in the silence that followed, something felt strange. The human delegation was small. Only a few guards and aides. They carried no banners, no weapons, no sign of power. It looked almost like surrender, and many aliens smiled at this sight. But one officer, seated far back, frowned deeply. He had studied humans for years, and he felt uneasy. The council began their speeches. They spoke of terms, of how humanity must hand over star systems, of how they must reduce their fleets, of how they must pay tribute for peace, each demand heavier than the last. But the human ambassador listened without anger, without resistance. The alien leader grew bolder. "You will obey, human, or your kind will vanish. Your silence proves your weakness, your absence proves your defeat." Yet the human gave no sign of fear. He folded his hands, his expression still calm. Only his eyes moved, watching each speaker, and those eyes made some in the chamber uncomfortable. As hours passed, the demands became sharper, but the humans did not raise their voices. They did not walk out. They did not argue. Instead, they waited as if for something unseen. At the edge of the hall, two alien aides whispered, "Why are they so quiet? Why are they not fighting back?" The other shrugged. "Because they have nothing left. They are only here to beg." But in another corner, the officer who had studied humans leaned closer to his screen. He noticed something strange in the council's own reports. Maps of human space were empty. Yes, but not destroyed, not in chaos, only silent. Entire sectors where patrols once flew were now dark. Entire routes where trade once moved were closed. He whispered to himself, "This is not weakness. This is movement." Back in the chamber, the ambassador finally spoke again. His words were few, almost too soft to hear. "Peace is always possible, but peace must be fair." Many laughed, but some shifted uneasily. There was no fear in his voice, no surrender either, only patience. The alien leader slammed his hand on the table. "You dare speak of fairness when you are broken? Your fleets are gone, your colonies silent, your borders empty. You have nothing left, human." "Nothing." The human tilted his head slightly. "Are you certain?" The words struck the chamber like a blade, small, simple, but heavy. The whispers grew louder. What did he mean? Why ask such a question? The officer in the back felt a chill. He tapped his screen, running searches through old patrol data. His heart froze when he saw the truth. Signals hidden in background noise. Encrypted transmissions spreading through the void. Patterns of fleets moving in silence, not destroyed, not lost, but gathering. He looked up, his voice almost breaking. Where did the human warships go? Others turned, confusion in their eyes, but before anyone could answer, the human ambassador leaned back in his chair, and for the first time he smiled. The fragile peace of the galaxy trembled in that moment, because silence was no longer weakness, it was a warning. Whispers of betrayal. The Galaxy Council chamber emptied slowly after the first session. Alien voices filled the wide halls, some laughing, some whispering. Many believed the humans were already defeated, but a few felt an unease they could not name. In the shadows of a tall pillar, an alien officer scrolled through secret reports. His hands shook as he studied the maps again. Human space looked silent, yes, but silence was not the same as ruin. It was too neat, too complete, like doors shut tight before a storm. He remembered the human ambassador's final smile, and it burned inside his mind like fire. Why would a weak species smile in front of its enemies? The question haunted him. Rumors began to spread across council worlds. Traders whispered of human patrols disappearing. Messengers claimed to see shadows of ships moving in deep space. Others swore they had heard coded signals in the static. Each story dismissed as fear, but together they formed a pattern that pointed to one thing. Humans were hiding something. In a private chamber, 3 alien leaders argued. They are bluffing, one hissed. Their fleets are dust. Their colonies abandoned. But the second leader shook his head. If they are dust, where is the wreckage? If they are abandoned, why is space so silent? The third leaned closer. Perhaps the humans prepare a strike. Perhaps they never left at all, across the galaxy. In the cold void, movement stirred. Huge ships drifted like shadows behind dead moons. Their signals muted, their engines cold. They waited in silence. But silence is not absence, it is patience. Back in the Council's main city, the officer who suspected the truth risked everything. He hacked into patrol records from border scouts. Lines of data scrolled across his eyes. He froze when he saw the pattern. Energy spikes in deep space. Spread across star lanes, time signals pulsing every few hours. A hidden network of coordination, he whispered. They are not gone. They are moving. In the next council session, demands grew harsher. Alien leaders pushed humanity to accept surrender. But again, the human ambassador listened calmly. His words were soft, but they carried weight. Peace can be chosen or peace can be broken. The choice is not ours alone, many laughed, some jeered. But those words sank into the minds of a few, especially the officer. He felt as if the humans spoke directly to him. After the session, he hurried to a dark corridor, sending encrypted messages to allies. The humans are preparing something. Watch the stars, watch the silence. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy in the blackness between suns, an ancient dreadnought stirred, its massive cannons hidden for decades, its engines lighting up like fire in the void. One of thousands waiting in the dark, the whispers grew louder, spreading through the galaxy like storm winds. Merchants whispered it, soldiers whispered it, even spies whispered it. The humans never disarmed. They only vanished to gather their strength. Panic started to creep into council chambers. Some leaders demanded an attack on human space before it was too late. Others demanded more negotiations, but in their hearts, none could forget the smile of the human ambassador. And in that smile was a shadow. The shadow of fleets unseen, fleets that could already be moving closer. The fragile peace had not only shattered, it had turned into something far worse. The fear of betrayal, the fear that humanity was not weak at all, but waiting for the right moment to strike. The mask falls. The third day of peace talks began with thunder outside the council's sky dome. Lightning cracked across the alien skies as if the heavens themselves knew a storm was coming. The great chamber filled again with voices. Aliens shouted, demanded, threatened. The air was heavy with arrogance and fear. The human ambassador entered once more, still calm, still quiet, still carrying no banners, but this time the silence of his presence felt heavier, as if his very steps carried a hidden weight. The council leader, tall and armored in gold, leaned forward with a sneer. Human, you will surrender your fleets. You will hand over your colonies, and you will bow before the council's power. This is the final chance for peace. The chamber roared in agreement. Aliens slammed tables. Voices rose like thunder. But through it all, the human ambassador only smiled faintly. He whispered, "We will consider." The words were soft, almost meaningless, yet they spread through the chamber like poison. Consider? What did that mean? Was it surrender? Was it defiance? Whispers raced through the rows of delegates, and far back, the alien officer who had studied humans clenched his fists. He saw the danger in that smile. He knew the humans were not considering surrender. They were considering the timing of something far greater. Outside the chamber, in the blackness of space, a silent fleet drifted through the void. Engines cold, weapons hidden. They moved like shadows through corridors of starlight. Each ship enormous, their hulls lined with strange metal the council had never seen. At the same moment, deep within the council's network, a leak began to spread. A secret transmission hacked into screens, words glowing in bold human code. Humanity never came unarmed. The chamber froze when the message appeared on every wall. Alien leaders looked at one another in fear. Some shouted for guards, some shouted for silence, but nothing could erase the words. They burned across the council's pride like fire. The human ambassador remained seated, his eyes calm, his expression almost amused. He said nothing, because the message spoke louder than any voice. The officer stood suddenly, his voice sharp. "You fools, do you not see? The humans have hidden their fleets. They are not gone. They are not broken. They are waiting. Many laughed nervously. Others shouted at him to sit down, but deep inside, every delegate felt the same chill, because the humans had given no defense, no denial, only silence, and silence was more terrifying than threats. The alien leader struck the table. Lies! This is a human trick. They want us to fear what does not exist, but even as he shouted, his hands trembled because in his heart, he too remembered the empty maps, the silent colonies, the vanished patrols, and he wondered if the shadows in space were already moving closer. The human ambassador finally stood, his voice calm, clear, and heavy. We came for peace, but do not mistake silence for surrender. Humanity remembers every wound, and we do not forget. The words echoed across the chamber. No one laughed this time, no one jeered because they all felt it. The mask of peace was falling, and behind it was the steel of war. The fragile illusion of weakness had shattered, and the galaxy trembled at the thought of what might already be on its way. The storm arrives, the council chamber shook with anger. Alien leaders shouted louder than ever, their voices filled with rage but also with fear. They had demanded surrender, but the humans only gave silence and a smile. The golden-armored leader slammed his claw on the table. You mock us, human. You dare threaten the galaxy with shadows. You have no fleets, no power, nothing. The human ambassador stood calmly, his eyes steady, his tone soft but sharp. We came for peace, but peace forced by fear is not peace at all. Remember that before you speak again. The chamber fell into tense silence. Some delegates looked at each other with unease. Others still roared in denial, but deep inside, a seed of terror was growing, and then it happened. All across the council's skies, alarms lit up. Warning sirens screamed as the planet's defense arrays detected something. Thousands of signatures appearing at once. Massive ships breaking through the void, coming out of dark folds of space. The delegates rushed to the windows of the sky dome. Their voices fell silent, their bodies froze, for outside, above the council's own homeworld, human warships appeared, not small fleets, not scattered patrols, but entire armadas, dreadnoughts larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen, their black hulls shining with strange new alloys, their weapons glowing with fire no alien had words for. Panic spread instantly. Delegates screamed, guards stumbled. Some cried that this was impossible. Others shouted that the humans had cheated, but none could deny what their eyes saw. The humans had surrounded the council's very heart. In the chamber, the ambassador's calm voice cut through the chaos. We warned you, we asked for peace, but you only demanded our chains. So now you see what silence truly meant? The alien leader trembled, his golden armor rattling as he tried to stand tall. This is war, you will burn for this. The galaxy will unite against you. The human tilted his head slightly. Unite? You already are united, and still you fear us outside. The skies grew darker as more human ships arrived. Their formations perfect, their weapons locked but not firing. The message was clear. This was power held in restraint, a storm ready to fall if forced inside. Some delegates begged for negotiation. Others demanded to flee, but no one dared to move against the humans now. Because the warships outside were not just weapons, they were proof that humanity had never been unarmed, only patient. The alien officer who had long suspected the truth stood slowly, his voice shaking. They hid it all this time. They built in silence, and now they stand above us all. The ambassador looked across the chamber, his words like a blade of ice. Peace is still possible, but not the peace you tried to force this time. You will listen. The storm had arrived, and the galaxy realized it was already too late to stop it. The lesson of fire. The sky dome above the council burned with light. Human warships covered the heavens like a second night. Their engines glowed like fire. Their shadows stretched across the world. Every alien delegate stared upward with frozen fear. Yet no cannon fired, no missile fell. The fleets waited, silent but unshakable. It was not the silence of weakness this time. It was the silence of power restrained. Inside the chamber, chaos raged. Delegates shouted, some begging for surrender, others calling for war, but all of them trembled with the same truth. Humanity had them surrounded. The golden-armored leader slammed his claws against the table again. His voice cracked with desperation. If you attack human, the galaxy will burn. Do you think you can fight us all? The ambassador stood calmly, his eyes sharp as stone. Fight you? We already could, but we did not come for war. We came to show you peace is not forced by chains, peace must be chosen, or it will never last. His words struck harder than any weapon. For the fleets outside proved he was not bluffing. He did not need to shout, he did not need to threaten. The truth was already above their heads. The officer who had long suspected the truth whispered, "They had the power all along, and yet they never used it." Until now, suddenly the sky flashed. One human dreadnought fired a single beam into the empty void above the planet. A line of pure energy tore across space, ripping apart a dead moon in seconds. The fragments burned in the atmosphere like falling stars. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate stared in terror. If one ship could do this to a moon, what could the entire armada do to a world? The ambassador raised his hand and the warship above instantly powered down. The fire ended. The silence returned. The message was clear. Humanity had no need to destroy, because restraint was more terrifying than destruction. The ambassador's voice filled the hall once more. Remember this day. Remember that humanity asked for peace first, and only revealed its fire when peace was broken. We never came unarmed, but our weapons are not for conquest. They are for balance, for respect. The delegates looked at each other with pale faces. Some nodded quickly, desperate to end the nightmare. Others lowered their heads, broken by fear and shame, and slowly, the golden-armored leader sank back into his seat, his voice trembling. Then, humanity will have its peace not because we wish it, but because we cannot deny it. The ambassador gave one final smile, not of triumph but of warning. Peace is a choice, choose it now, before the fire teaches again outside. The armadas began to turn, warships sliding back into the void, their lights fading into the stars. They had come like a storm and left like a shadow. The galaxy had seen the lesson of fire, and it would never forget. That day, every race understood one truth. Humanity's silence was never weakness. It was patience, and patience, when tested, could shake the stars themselves.